Hello and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we're playing Mount and Blade Bannerlord, specifically the Realm of Thrones mod. And the last video I made in this mod, a lot of people pointed out that I was using an old version of the game, which, to be fair, I hadn't downloaded it for a while. So I had to stop, delete everything, get the new stuff. So I am now in the current version of the mod, and a lot has changed. They've made a lot of progress. There's new troops added, new armors added, new weapons added. A lot of the cities got revamped. The story got upgraded a little bit. I know that, for one thing, like the mission at the Twins to stop the Red Wedding is working now. I don't even know if it was implemented before, but I've already done it once in the game. Quite a few things have been changed. The way that you recruit house troops is different. Now you go through a castellan to do it. So lots and lots of changes. But I just want to take a look at the thing that I kind of personally like the most, or at least one of the things that I like the most, which is going to be armor. So this is my first video in a series I'm going to do going through the armor of each faction in this mod. And I figured I'd start with the least well-developed faction just to kind of highlight the bottom end of this mod, I would say, because I mean, I haven't hardcore gone through every single faction, but out of all the ones I've looked at so far, I think the Vale definitely is the most poorly developed at the moment. Just variety and quality is the lowest as far as armor goes. So we're just going to go through it. I will start with like troops and look at the troop armors, because that'll give us kind of a full spectrum of all the way from the bottom down up to the top, and then we'll go through some of the suits of Vale armor that I've found throughout, exploring the mod. So let's just start off with the troops. And there are three different troop trees for Vale type troops. We're going to start with just the basic ones, which are the Vale recruits, and then we'll go through the other two. So starting with the Vale recruit, you can see a fairly peasant-y looking suit of armor here. All they're equipped with is sturdy leather boots and a sackcloth tunic along with an iron arming sword. So very basic, but that makes sense for the levy type troop. Moving up from there, we go to the Vale footman. Improves a little bit with a Vale gambeson and the sturdy leather boots. Again, just an iron arming sword. So it looks a little bit nicer, a little bit cleaner, has the colors of the Vale, so I like the way that looks. On the other side, we have the archer. That's the Vale bowman. So this one we have the stitched leather vest, leather gloves, and sturdy leather boots. I'm not nuts about this. Anytime where I see something where it seems to be using in-game assets from like the vanilla assets, I should say, I don't like it. For a mod like this, I want to see new items. I don't want to see anything from the original game. So I don't much care for the suit of armor on the Vale bowman. Moving on to the Vale soldier, we have a little bit more unique Vale look to them. They have the Vale helmet, the Vale armor, and some leather cavalier boots. So again, that's a vanilla asset, so not ideal, but on the top we have Vale stuff. And then they're equipped with an iron arming sword, simple commoner spear, and a cavalry kite shield. So again, feeling fairly vanilla, but the core parts of this suit of armor definitely make it look kind of Vale-esque. Then we have the cavalry option here, which is the Vale rider, just one set of armor for this one, and we're actually a little bit of a downgrade, I would say, over the soldier because we don't have any plate. This one has the Vale helmet, the Vale gambeson, the leather cavalier boots, and is equipped with an Andalos palfrey, a iron arming sword, and a cavalry kite shield. So again, it's a blend. We have the unique helmet and torso covering from the mod, but the other stuff is all vanilla, and it looks okay, but fairly mediocre in my opinion. Moving up our archer tree to the Vale archer, we again kind of have a step down, so the Vale footman is pretty much this one. So we have a padded cap, the Vale gambeson, and some sturdy leather boots, and then an iron arming sword, simple short bow, and 2 quivers of range arrows. So, armor-wise on here, again, really the gambeson is the only thing that stands out as the mod. The rest is all fairly vanilla. It looks right in the kingdom. Just keep in mind, I'm not complaining when they're very, very simple. I'm not complaining that they're not crazy elaborate. Just that quality-wise, it seems like not a lot of attention has been paid onto these ones so far. Moving up to our Vale man-at-arms, we have the Vale helmet, Vale armor with mail, so that's another variant of armor, and the Jon Snow boots. So the Jon Snow boots are clearly the go-to footwear for this mod whenever they don't have a pre-made item or they just want a basic leather boot looking footwear. They use the Jon Snow boots for it every time, so that's interesting. This one looks okay. Again, most of your items, or at least the ones that make up the most visible parts, which are your helmet and torso, those are unique to the mod, so I like that. Everything else is vanilla, so it's a hybrid, but this one looks decent. Moving up to our Vale Lancer, which is one of the options for our cavalry trees, it's kind of feeling the same. We have the Vale helmet, Vale armor, Jon Snow boots once again, and then a bunch of vanilla assets. So, like I said, it's the same sort of thing. It's a hybrid. It is utilizing vanilla assets, but this one looks all right. The other option for the cavalry troop tree is the Vale Vale Volgier, which basically just instead of having a spear has a halberd type polearm, but same stuff basically. Vale helmet and Vale armor makes up the majority of the armor set for the Volgier. Then our next step in the archer tree, we have the Vale Elite Archer. Looks basically the same, so we just have our Vale Gambeson again and our padded cap, sturdy leather boots, iron arming sword, simple short bow, and then 2 quivers of range arrows. So the only difference between the Vale Archer and the Vale Elite Archer is stats. Moving up to our Vale House Guard, which is our top of the infantry troop tree as far as the regular Vale recruit goes. This one we have the Vale Helmet. We have the Vale Shoulders, so we added some shoulder armor, the Vale Armor with Mail, Lord Gloves, which are not a vanilla asset, so I like that, and the Jon Snow Boots. So this is our first one out of all of the Vale troops that we've looked at so far that has all unique in-mod assets, no vanilla assets being used for the armor. The weapons, you know, those are all vanilla, but that I care less about because that's more of a function over fashion type of thing. So the Vale House Guard is the first one that I would consider to be a pretty dang good suit of armor for the mod. The Vale Elite Lancer is another one that's making some improvements. We have the Vale Helmet, the Vale Padded Shoulders, which I think are a goofy looking piece of armor, but at least they are unique. The Vale Armor, the Vale Bracers, and the Jon Snow Boots. So once again, all unique in-mod items for this full suit of armor. Then we have the other cavalry top tier one, the Vale Elite Volgier. This one again is all unique stuff. So the Vale Helmet, Vale Padded Shoulders, Vale Armor, Vale Bracers, and Jon Snow Boots. So pretty much again, the exact same as the Lancer, but just a different weapon type for our polearm. Then we have our Vale Master Archer. So you may be noticing that once again, we haven't seen a lot of change or improvement here. We have the Vale Helmet, the Vale Gambeson, and sturdy leather boots. So still, we have a vanilla asset in here, and we still have the same Gambeson for the Archer, so that no matter what you do with the Vale Archer, you're not going to get very good armor, so they're just not a very durable troop. But at least we did get the Vale Helmet. So that's all for the regular Vale Recruit troop tree. Next, we have the Royce troop tree, which is from House Royce in the Vale. I love this one. This is probably my favorite of all the troops in the Vale. I love this one the most just for how unique they are. You're going to see a lot of elements of leather and bronze, and that's from the Song of Ice and Fire books, where it's mentioned that they are a unique in the Vale. They're a family of the First Men. They're not Andals, so they have a lot of those elements of bronze that, even though they're outdated and kind of antique and primitive in comparison to all the steel that everyone else is using, it's a matter of pride for them. So for these ones, we have starting with the Royce Footman, we have the Stormlands Gambeson, which is of course hilarious, and the Umber Boots. So we have something from the Stormlands and something from the North. But color-wise, I get it because it matches with the color scheme of the rest of the Royce stuff. Still, they're unique items for the mod, but neither one of them belongs in the Vale. Then we have the Royce Soldier, where we have the Royce Barbute, the Stormlands Gambeson, and the Umber Boots. So same items as the Footman, except we added the Royce Barbute, which is a cool-looking leather and bronze helmet. Then moving down to the Royce Archer, we have the Royce Barbute, the Stormlands Gambeson, and the Umber Boots, and then it's just equipped as a archer should be. So another basic Vale type archer, but this one's brown instead of being blue. The Royce Warrior has the Royce Barbute, the Royce Armor, and the Kingsguard Gloves, and the Umber Boots. So we have 2 items that are Royce, and then we have something from the Kingsguard, which always feels out of place when it's not on a member of the Kingsguard, and the Umber Boots, so once again, boots from the North. Then we have the Royce Rider, which is our first cavalry unit for the Royce troops, and this one has the Royce Barbute, the Royce Female Armor, the Kingsguard Gloves, and the Umber Boots. So this is a specifically female unit, so that's interesting. But again, looks pretty good, I think, on the whole at least. Then we have the top tier Royce Veteran Archer. This one has the Royce Barbute, the Royce Armor, the Kingsguard Gloves, and the Umber Boots. So again, standard looking stuff, is still using stuff from other factions, but at least none of it's vanilla, and I think it looks pretty good. And as far as archers in the Vale go, the Royce Veteran Archer is one of the better options in my opinion. Then we have the Royce Elite Warrior, which is their top tier infantry unit. It is a male person, unlike the cavalry, which are female. On this one, we have the Royce Barbute, the Royce Pauldrons, Royce Armor, Kingsguard Gloves, and Umber Boots. So again, most of your highly visible things are unique to the mod, and they are, themed for House Royce, but the rest of it, at least it blends in well and looks like it matches together. Then we have the Royce Cavalry Woman, which is the upgrade over the Rider. This has the Royce Barbute, Royce Female Pauldrons, Royce Female Armor, Kingsguard Gloves, and Umber Boots. So same stuff as before. And moving up for our last one is the Heroine. So you're going to see all the same stuff: the Barbute, the Female Pauldrons, Female Armor, Kingsguard Gloves, and Umber Boots. So fairly standard armor scheme for House Royce, but I do like this stuff. I think it looks higher quality and more unique than the regular Vale armor. So out of everything we've looked at so far, I definitely prefer the Royce stuff. And lastly, for the Vale, we have the Air Arryn troop tree. So these start with the Arryn levy and move all the way up, and their top tier is a cavalry unit. So with the Arryn levy, we have the Arryn archer armor and the Arryn boots. So 2 unique in-mod non-vanilla assets. Our Arryn rider, which is our first of the cavalry troop tree, has the Vale helmet, the Vale gambeson, and the Jon Snow boots. So once again, we're wearing Jon Snow boots, but at least the other assets are, unique to the Vale. The Arryn horseman, we have the Vale helmet, the Vale pauldrons, Vale armor 2, and the Jon Snow boots. So again, no vanilla assets, looking decent. The Arryn knight, we have the Vale helmet, the Vale pauldrons, the Vale armor 2, the Vale bracers with gloves, and the Jon Snow boots. So, a full suit of armor looks appropriate-ish. It's obviously inspired by the show, as all of these are, and I think most of the failings of this mod in the Vale is just that the Vale didn't ever get that much love in the show. A lot of the armor you see looked kind of the worst out of all the factions. I don't know if it's just because the story focused on them so little, but whatever the case was, it never looked great, and so the mod is just working with the visuals that the show provided. Then we have the Arryn Moon Knight, which is their top tier cavalry unit. That has the Vale helmet, the Vale pauldrons, Vale armor 2, Vale bracers with gloves, and the Jon Snow boots. So pretty much the same stuff. Then moving down the footman troop tree, we've got the regular Arryn footman, and there we have the padded cap, the Arryn archer armor, and the Arryn boots. Then our Arryn archer introduces the Arryn archer helmet, which looks hilarious in my opinion, the Arryn archer armor, and Arryn boots. Our master Arryn archer, or the Arryn master archer, has the Arryn archer helmet, the chain armor reinforcement, so that's a non-visible armor item that they have for the shoulder piece, the Arryn archer armor, and the Arryn boots. And then our infantry, we have the Arryn man-at-arms with the Vale helmet, Vale armor 2, and Jon Snow boots. And finally the Arryn house guard with the Vale helmet, Vale pauldrons, Vale armor 2, Vale bracers, and the Jon Snow boots. So as you can see, like I said at the beginning, the Vale I feel is the most underdeveloped of all the factions. That's why I went through the whole troop tree, just to show you that what I'm going to show you for some suits of armor, that's literally all there is. It's super limited. There's not that many items. None of the suits are what I would even consider a full suit, which is where you have a slot or an item for each of the 5 armor slots, and all of them are named to match together and go together perfectly. That's a full suit of armor. And the Vale doesn't have a single one of those. Every single one is missing them. They only have they have 2 helmet variants, and both of them look horrible. It's not done well so far. And I'm not blaming the mod authors or anything. Like I said, they're working with inspiration from the show, which was horrible. And obviously it's a huge mod, and they probably have stuff planned that they just haven't got to yet. But yeah, let's just look at some of the suits of armor that I've experimented with in this mod for building things strictly out of pieces that belong in the Vale. So here we have the Arryn foot soldier. This is the most basic one I was able to come up with. It has the Vale helmet, the Vale padded shoulders, the Vale gambeson, the Vale bracers, and the Arryn boots. So this is as basic as the items that all belong in the Vale come. They're all named either, Arryn or Vale or Royce or something. Those are all the groups that you could find items in this mod for the Vale in. There's a couple problems with it. The gambeson clips through a couple things like the bracers and the shoulders, but other than that, it goes together rather well. I don't think it's a particularly good looking suit of armor, but this is the most basic one we could make with the items that belong to this faction. Next up we have the Vale or Arryn archer. This one is the same sort of thing. We've got the Arryn archer helmet, the Vale padded shoulders, Arryn archer armor, Vale bracers, and Arryn boots. So we have a full suit of armor. It looks decent together. Again, I think the padded shoulders are just a weird looking piece of armor, so I don't love them for anything. They just look like football shoulder pads, except a little bit less bulky. But other than that, the suit of armor isn't horrible. Again, we have clipping issues with the bracers and the shoulders, but other than that, looks decent enough. Next up, we have our first variant of Vale armor. So this one is the first one that, again, looks actually pretty solid together. Nothing is clipping, nothing looks horrible and out of place. This one's made up of the Vale helmet, the Vale shoulders, Vale armor, Vale bracers, and the Arryn plate boots. So this one is, I would say, suitable for heavy infantry or even cavalry. Obviously, we have a couple slightly more comprehensive suits of plate armor in this faction, so I would say if I was designing it, I would reserve this for heavy infantry. But it looks fine. It's super, super basic. That's my biggest complaint about it, but at least nothing looks out of place. So that's our first variant of the Vale armor. Here's our second variant of Vale armor. So you can see there's not a whole lot of differences. Basically, it's just one item, the Vale armor 2. All the other items remain the same. So we have the Vale helmet, the Vale shoulders, Vale armor 2, Vale bracers, and Arryn plate boots. This one improves over the last one just by adding some mail. We have just just the visual addition of mail under the sleeves and down in a tabard underneath our gambeson, which is beneath our cuirass. So, looks all right. Again, I would say this, if anything, this is just better than the first variant, but it's not that much different. All right, moving on to our Vale Armor 3. This one, again, is just a slight improvement, makes it a little bit heavier. So this is the one that I would start saying these are for heavy cavalry. This one's made up of the Vale Helmet, the Vale Pauldrons, the Vale Armor with mail, the Vale Bracers with gloves, and the Iron Plate Boots once again. So the changes mostly are in the arms, because the armor doesn't look that much different. We once again are back to just the standard variant that doesn't show any mail on the arms, but we still have the mail down on the tabard. Other than that, we have the cuirass with the gambeson. Our Vale Pauldrons are more comprehensive than the Vale Shoulders. The shoulders were just the top part. The pauldrons seem to go all the way down. And then we have the Vale Bracers with gloves, which gives us not just the bracer on our forearms, but also some leather gloves over the top. So this one is very similar to the first two variants of the Vale armor, but this one is just a heavier, more comprehensive suit. And again, I think appearance-wise, super basic, but at least it looks pretty good. And here we get to the last, our Vale Armor number 4, our fourth variant of just the basic Vale Knight armor. So this one is the Vale Helmet, Vale Pauldrons, Vale Bracers with gloves, Iron Plate Boots, and then the Vale Armor with mail 2. So just a slightly different variant. You can see now instead of having the chainmail down here on the tabard, we've got what appears to be a longer gambeson or tunic underneath the mail, which is directly below the armor, and then we do have the mail up under the sleeves. Other than that, it looks exactly the same as the last suit. So once again, I think it looks okay. It's super basic, but it looks pretty dang good. My biggest complaint is that we don't have any sort of closed face Vale-specific helmet. We only have this open face bassinet type helmet with this huge opening here, which again is not a horrible helmet design or anything. It's just if you were putting together heavy cavalry, you'd have a face mask, or at least a closer, tighter barbute so they'd have less exposed. But that's our Vale Armor number 4. Next is where we start running into issues because we're moving on to our Royce stuff, which, like I said, I quite like, but what I don't like is that they didn't make Royce gloves or Royce bracers and Royce boots. Instead, they're using stuff from different factions, and since I'm just using stuff from this region, I have to substitute with some other options. That being said, it still looks pretty good. I still think the Royce stuff looks a lot better than the standard Vale stuff. This one is made up of the Royce barbute, the Royce pauldrons, the Royce armor, and then I have the Vale bracers with gloves, and you could obviously use just the regular bracers if you wanted, but I figured I'd go with the most comprehensive option available. And then the Iron Plate boots too, because even though they're black and look a little bit weird with it, at least they match the gloves, and I also have no other suit of armor to match them with. Interestingly, we have these Iron Plate boots too, but there isn't a secondary suit of Iron armor that's all black, so there's no logical place to use these boots. But overall, I like the suit of armor. Like I said, I think the bronze and leather looks very cool and unique. I just wish that the mod included Royce-specific gloves and boots. But that is our Royce infantry armor. Next, we have our Royce female armor, which you can just see is slightly thinning. I have it on a male model, which looks funny. I also have a, this is what it looks like on the female model. So not that much different. I think this one, it looks better in that way, and you can see on the female one, just from Rhea Royce, this is the item she was wearing while she had the noble default on her head instead of the barbute. But she just comes equipped with the Kingsguard gloves and the Umber boots, which obviously looks better with the outfit than with the region-specific stuff that I was using, because it just matches the brown aesthetic. So that is our final one for the Royce armor sets that we have in this game. Then we have our final suit of armor, which is the Aaron Knight, and it looks awful. I absolutely abhor it. Ugh. There's so many problems with it. For one thing, it has the integrated shoulders into the cuirass, so that means if you want to do something on top, you either have to do like a cape or something like that, and there isn't an Aaron-themed cape, or you have to do the invisible, like the chain armor reinforcements or something like that, because if you put any of the Vale items up there, the meshes clash and it looks horrible. This suit, I should say, just before we get into all that, is made up of the Vale helmet, nothing for the shoulders, the Aaron armor, the Vale bracers with gloves, and the Aaron plate boots. So, yeah, that's my first problem, is that it has those integrated shoulders. The second one is just the size of everything looks horrible. It makes your character model look ridiculously oversized and fat. The shoulders are massive on this suit of armor. I like the asymmetry. I like how they look different on either side, because it suggests that this is a suit of armor specifically for maybe use in a tournament or jousting or something like that, because that's how jousting armor was often designed. You had one shoulder that was much larger and oversized. It was used as a shield, essentially. And the other one was more flexible because you were holding a lance and and moving around with it. But that being said, other than that, I just really dislike this suit of armor. I think, once again, we don't have a closed face helmet, not at least one that is named for it. There are several in the game that look halfway decent with this and other Vale armor, but none of them are actually named appropriately to suggest that they belong to this region. So, like I said, I like the Royce armor. Some of the other Vale stuff looks pretty basic, but it still looks okay. I do not like this Aaron armor, and it just bothers me a lot that there's no appropriate helmet to go with it. But that is all of the armor for the Vale faction in Realm of Thrones for Mount & Blade Bannerlord. I hope you enjoyed this video. We're probably going to just keep moving through the other factions, and I promise you, they get better after this one. Like I said, I think the Vale is probably the worst one so far in this mod. All the other factions have a lot better armor, and some of them have really cool armor that I can't wait to show you. So, that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed it, but we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.